Moonlight misery and mustache mayhem. Joost stared at the moon. Big mistake. It was huge and bright and totally ruined the mood. He needed a dimly lit night full of mystery and romance, not this spotlight situation. He sighed. This date was important. Joost also stared at his reflection. Another big mistake. He was trying to grow a mustache, a real manly mustache, like the heroes in his adventure books. So far, nada, just a bit of peach fuzz. He was guarding the Van der Snoot estate tonight. Important job. Anya, the cook's assistant and the girl of his dreams, had agreed to meet him by the rose garden. If only the moon wasn't ruining the ambience. And if only he could rock a mustache. Anya and the art of awkward charm. Joost had practiced his lines. He was going to be smooth, charming, witty. His friend Peter had given him tips. Just compliment her eyes, Peter had said. Girls love that. But what if Anya laughed? What if she thought he was a terrible guard with a pathetic excuse for a mustache? He paced nervously. Maybe he should have started with practicing his whistling. That was supposed to be attractive, right? He straightened his uniform. He'd gotten the job just last week. It was a big deal. He was responsible, alert, and completely awkward around pretty girls. Tonight had to be perfect, or at least not a complete disaster. Guard duty blues and self-doubt samba. He adjusted his hat twice. Was he overthinking this? Probably, but Anya was special. She laughed at his jokes sometimes, and she had the prettiest eyes he had ever seen. He wanted to impress her. The problem was being a guard wasn't exactly the most glamorous job. Who are you guarding against? Peter often teased. Squirrels? It was true that the Van der Snoots were a little eccentric, but a job was a job, and this job came with a perk. Anya. He just wished he felt more confident, more mustachioed. He tried to smooth down his non-existent mustache again for good measure. Mansion mysteries and moonlit mazes. The Van der Snoot mansion was something out of a fairy tale. It had turrets, gargoyles, and enough hedges to get lost in for days. Tonight, though, it felt more like a stage set with that giant moon as the spotlight. The gardens were supposed to be romantic. He had imagined whispering sweet nothings to Anya under the moonlight. Instead, he felt like he was on display. He hoped she wouldn't notice his sweaty palms. He walked through the maze, the scent of roses heavy in the air. The Van der Snoots loved their roses. He hoped Anya did too. He had picked out the perfect one to give her. If only he could find his way back to the meeting spot. The Tease Brigade and Joost's woes. He heard voices. His fellow guards, Dirk and Frederick, were leaning against a statue, chuckling. They saw him and straightened up, their faces trying to hold back laughter. Well, if it isn't the nightingale of the Van der Snoot estate, Dirk boomed, his voice echoing in the garden. Out serenading the moon again, Joost? Frederick added, winking. Joost blushed. They knew about Anya, they knew about everything. You wouldn't understand, he mumbled, trying to sound mysterious. It came out sounding more like a question. Dirk clapped him on the back, almost knocking him over. Sure we do, he said, still chuckling. Just don't forget, love is a battlefield. He struck a dramatic pose. Frederick snorted with laughter. Joost just sighed. Leave it to Dirk to quote a love song from the 1980s. Hope springs eternal, even without a mustache. He finally found Anya by the fountain. She looked even prettier than he remembered. She smiled when she saw him, and his heart did a little flip. Maybe tonight wouldn't be so bad after all. He still wished he had a mustache, and that the moon wasn't trying to outshine the stars. But as he walked towards Anya, her laughter echoing in the night, he realized something important. Confidence wasn't about facial hair or the phases of the moon. It was about believing in yourself. And tonight he was determined to do just that. He might not have a mustache yet, but he had a heart full of hope and a rose tucked behind his back. And sometimes that was all you needed.